One person. All right. All right. Finally have the start list posted on the live results. They weren't posted earlier in the day. Looks like they're up now. Let's check. $115. That's a shame. They're running the senior and the U20 concurrently schedule-wise, but doesn't have the live results built that way, so I'll have to get a separate link pulled up. I'll wait another minute or so before I start. Hey, 3 people. If y'all can hear me, throw something in the chat to let me know my audio's coming through. It looks like it is, but someone could throw something in the chat. Let me know if I sound all right. If you can hear me all right. Using YouTube's live stream platform. There's a couple of paid options. Maybe I'll explore down the road, but I'm gonna give this a try with YouTube's live. We'll wait till 9:31. See if a couple more people are in for the whole thing. I'm going to cover the men's and women's javelin for both the senior as well as U20 division. Give my thoughts on really top 6 for the seniors. I think it's pretty competitive, especially on the men's side. I think there's a couple of people who have a legitimate shot at winning. So, all right, Walker, let me know you can hear me good. Good. Yeah, I think especially on the men's side, there's a bunch of people that could win. So I'll give my thoughts on that and talk a little bit about world rankings. Golden audio, okay. That's good. This is old. I'm using like 2015 MacBook that is had a lot of stuff replaced. It actually, the battery on it still says replace soon. So I need to get the battery replaced, but Apple doesn't. At least like at the official Apple stores, they won't replace it for me. So I got to take it to just like a local person if they're willing to do it. Buy the battery off market, something. All right, well, let's get started. So what I'm going to do is cover the men's javelin and the women's javelin for the senior age divisions, and then cover U20s as well. And so important context, we got a world championship coming up later in August. And so with that, not only are people fighting for the prize money and the status of placing at the national meet for the next couple of days. But the national meet, especially in the U.S., is an opportunity to get some serious world ranking points because the World Athletics ranking system, your performances, not only how far you throw, but the meet you throw in, the quality of that meet in the eyes of World Athletics, and then the placing contributes to the score you get from any meet you go to. So a lot of the athletes in the U.S. have a hard time developing as strong a world ranking as someone maybe comparable in ability who's over in Europe who can easily travel to meets that are even like a C grade meet. So really most meets in the U.S. are going to be, most college meets especially, are going to be at a grade F meet. And so that's really unfortunate because there's a lot of great competitions, a lot of quality competitors, but that's just the way that things are right now. So this U.S. meet and then Jav Fest a little bit later are going to be really big for getting points this year. So in the men's field, going to just kind of go down the list of the performance list kind of by how people enter themselves. So Curtis up with that technically. So going over what he's competed a bunch this year. He opened with 79 and then another 79, 74, 79, 75, 79, 79, 65 is his season's best from one of his last meets in Europe, 75, and then most recently 74 at the New York Grand Prix. Then you got Ethan Dabbs, technically the top U.S. thrower with the 80-82 in 2023. Opened his season with 74, then his 80-82, 73, 72, 79 at NCAAs to take second, and then a 73 at that New York meet. And then you got Mark Minicello, who opened with 80-62 at Mount Sac, and then 75, 79 at SECs, 74 prelim, 77 at the national meet. You got Capers Williamson, season's best of 79-95 at Mount Sac. He's 79, 79, 67, 72, 79, 95, 75, 75, 79, 75. So you can see that Curtis and Capers have thrown a lot more than Mark and Ethan. Ethan Shalloway's up there. He's competed a little bit less, 77, 73, 72, 78, 20 is his season's best. Then he got 77 most recently, which was the winning throw at the New York Grand Prix. And then Zuriel Padigo, your NCAA champ this year, 77, 78, 76 at the prelims, and 79, 79. So only 4 meets under his belt this year. But especially you move that West prelim, he's thrown 3 times in his worst meets, his season opener at 77. So that's not too shabby. So we'll kind of go down here. I give my thoughts on each person. And so Curtis, going to be the most experienced of the throwers in this field, other than maybe Tim Glover, who's been around for a long time, hasn't competed yet this year, competed a couple times last year, kind of coming back from, he's come back from injuries multiple times. So I'm not expecting Tim Glover to do anything in particular, although I wouldn't be surprised if he had a good throw. He's got the most experience. But of the contenders, I'm going to say that Curtis definitely has the most experience, narrowly missing the 2016 Olympic team, making the 21 Olympic team. He's made several world teams, competed at the NAC and ACACs multiple times. Although this season hasn't been as strong as last year, he had the opportunity to travel and compete in more meets, which I think for a number of other throwers in other events as well has just been challenging. Is if you have a great year, you get invited to Europe, and then you have to go to Europe. You don't have to, but you take the opportunity. You're being paid to, some amount of money. Your travel is being covered, I think, for some of these guys and girls. So it's worth it. It in exchange, it is challenging to travel and deal with all that. So I think that plays into the year Curtis has had, not getting over 80 yet. But I think he's going to be in good form at this national meet. He's been a consistent competitor. So I'll touch a little bit more on that when I kind of say who I think is going to fall where. With Ethan, definitely a frustrating year. Getting over 80 in his second meet had to feel good, thinking, okay, we're going to build on this. But this year just not quite materializing with the big throw that I think he probably wanted. Still impressive to battle back, make finals and 79 meters twice at the NCAA national meet. Taking second, but again, that's certainly, I don't think what he set out to do this year. He's definitely hungry for more, and he's your defending champion coming off of last year's winning throw in round 6. I think it was 81-43. And he's, so this will be his second time kind of in this environment, in this atmosphere. And so, definitely that can play a part into what he could do this year. Mark Minicello, Mark's been around for, I think the same number. I think him and Ethan are the same year. Yeah. He just took the 1 year off. Yeah. So he says he has another year at Georgia because he took the 1 year off and threw unattached. And that's when he kind of really busted forward with the 79 meter throwing unattached late in 2020, I think. Yeah. And so a strong year, but kind of towards the end of the year, he opened with the 80, had the 79 meter win. SECs, a great meet. So he beats the real SECs. And then 74 at the prelim, but that's the prelim. Move on. 77 at NCAAs, 75 at the New York Grand Prix. So his last 2 meets, not bad numbers. But when you're trying to push to be at the top of the U.S., you got to be really close to 80. I think that's what I'm going to emphasize, is that it's going to take 80 to win. I think for sure. It's going to take 8 something to win. Probably no higher than 82 unless somebody has a bomb. I don't think that'll happen. I think the top guys that I just talked about there, those 6, I think they're all, Curtis has already done it, but I think all those guys are capable of probably 84, 85 if the heavens aligned. More likely, if they have a great day, they'll throw 79 to 81. And so I'm expecting at least one of them to do that. And so he could do that. Moving Capers, Williamson, he's gone over 79 a couple times now. He's actually got a great world ranking. He's at 24. Curtis is at 6, but Capers is at 24. Ethan's at 29. So if Capers can produce another high 70 throw, that'll get him some great points, put him in a really good position to stay in the top 30 to make a world team. And he's been down in Alabama. He moved down to be with the crew that Tom Puxtis is leading. So that training environment has got to be have been a real benefit to him this year. Ethan has been with that group for a while now, and although he got over 80 last year, this season I would say is still pretty successful with the 77, a 78-20 recently, and then the win in New York, 77. And then Zuriel, he has PR'd at the SEC, and then he's built really well from SECs through to nationals, PRing at nationals every year. It's his third year doing that. So he showed he can be in great form when it matters. And this is the first time that I think he's really pursuing another meet post NCAAs since his junior years. Yeah. So question is, can he extend this form? It's been a little bit since NCAAs. So let me tell you what I'm thinking. So here are my rankings. Now I kind of gave a little bit about each athlete. So I think Curtis, given his experience, is going to win. Really, any of those 6 guys are capable of 79 at some point. Ethan's 70-20 and 80 a little bit before that last year. So, but Curtis definitely, I think, his experience and form to show out, and he's going to win the 81 something, 80 something. I don't think it's going to be further than 82. I'd love for it to be, but just I'm kind of I'm being realistic. I'm not speaking as a fan in this. This is me speaking as just kind of projecting my thoughts more out. Not as a fan, if that makes sense. But as a fan, I hope it's an insane competition. So I think Curtis is going to win. Second, I think Zuriel is going to continue his good form. He's been extremely consistent. Now, I said the last 3 years he's been able to build. So given that, he's choosing to compete in this meet, and what I've seen in terms of what he's shared on Instagram, he continues to just move really fluid down the runway. I think he's going to be able to produce another high 70 throw, and he's going to be able to do it early. And in a competition like USA's, if you can put one on the board, it definitely can shake things up. So I think he's going to be able to be the second and the top collegian. Taking third, I think you got to respect the season Capers Williamson's having. He went over to Australia, competed in some meets, comes back to the States, continues good form. Takes I believe he was second behind Mark at Mount Sac. So he's competed in some really quality fields. His most recent meets 79 and 75. So he's in good form. Probably just tinkering with one or two things, and so I think he's going to be capable of producing a high 70 throw. And I think he'll be right behind Zuriel. And then in fourth behind him, I think Ethan Shalloway is going to have a great day. I've always liked how Ethan's moved, and over the last couple of years, he's made a lot of progress in his technique. And for him to be in the position he's in with some good throws, but not anything crazy, I think he's cracking on the door of putting it together. And so I'm going to put him at 4. At 5, I'm going to say your defending champ, Ethan. I think Ethan's going to edge out Mark. But with that being said, I don't think any of this, especially this men's field, nothing's for sure. I think it's a little bit easier on the women's side. But on the men's side, I think all these guys are, these are the 6 guys I would say you look for the top. Although there is, I think, $2,000 for 7th and $1,000 for 8th. So there's still some money up for grabs. And the next couple guys, other than Tim, you got Cameron Bates, Braden Presser, Lucas Frost, Jackson Morris. So you got a bunch of guys in the mix there in the mid-70s who could potentially place, which would be great for them. But that's my preview of the men's field. I touched on the world rankings. The only thing to note, Curtis's world ranking is mostly based on his 2022 throws that came in the later half of the year. The cutoff date is July 30th. So when that date comes, what'll happen is Well, once we pass Jav Fest this year, Curtis's Jav Fest mark from last year will fall off of his world ranking, kind of calculation, if I understand things right. So, then his next best throw will go in there. So I'm guessing he'll drop, but he's not going to drop very far. Capers is in a good position, and everything in Capers' world ranking is current. Same thing for Ethan at 29. Now, Ethan 29 is a bubble position, with the top 30 being granted those spots. But if, like last year, Ethan can do well at USA's, and I think, relatively speaking, I think even if he places like I have him at 5th, let's say he gets 5th or 4th, he's still going to get some decent points. And if he produces a 78 plus meter throw, I think that's still going to yield some decent points. And then at that point, you're kind of waiting to see what other people do. And if, not too much changes, maybe he'll sit at 27 or 28. I'm sure he wants to take more destiny into his own hands and have a great meet, move himself up even more. Unfortunately, that automatic mark for the men is 85.20, and that's just really far. The women's is 63.80. So it's just helpful to know in terms of world ranking. Mark's at 42, Ethan's at 39, Zuriel's at 55. So they're a little further away, making that jump. Not sure if that's going to happen, just the way the system is built right now. So taking a look at the women's rankings. So your top seeded athlete is Ariana Ince. She's coming in with a 64-meter mark from last September, I believe, in Switzerland. Although her season so far, not as strong, 52, 54, 55, 56, 55, 56. So just like Curtis, she had a strong end to last year, and that, I think, got her invited to some diamond leagues and some other meets this year, which is great for her. But unfortunately, it hasn't produced the quality throwing that she probably wished it would. Her world ranking right now is 21. Just behind her, world ranking 24 is Maggie Harden Malone, excuse me. So Maggie 59, 58, 62, 28, 53, 57, 56. So built up to that 62, 28 season's best, kind of tailed off since then just a little bit. Behind her, an athlete she's been working with as on staff at Nebraska, you've got Maddie Harris, whose world ranking is 57. Maddie's thrown 51, 58, 85 PR, 55, 56, 56, and then a nice 57 at NCAAs. You got Madison Wiltrout, world ranking 72. Madison went over 60 last year. This year, she's gone 56, 54, 58, 51. Her season's best, 56 and 55. And then Megan Albamonte has been in the mid-50s and got up to 55. Dana Baker been in the mid-50s, got up to 54.22. And then Rebecca Wales from USAJP in the mid-50s, 53.92, her season's best. And so breaking down where I see these women finishing, kind of easy to say. Maggie Harden Malone's the favorite. She's got the best season's best for this 2023 season. She's been in good form. She's experienced. I think all those things lean towards her being the favorite, and I'm fairly confident with that pick. So I have Maggie taken first. I have Maddie Harris, Nebraska, taken second. Maddie's been in great form. She's moving well. The training that I've seen for over the last couple weeks since NCAAs, they look good. So I think that she's going to be able to top the rest of the field except for Coach Maggie, and she'll be able to produce a high 50s throw. And 57 something is probably what I think is going to be second place, because the next closest people, Madison Wiltrout, Ariana Ince, just aren't moving as well. So although Madison produced an exceptional throw in the middle of the season and has some good throws and had some excellent throwing last year, her movement at NCAAs didn't look as confident. And so with that, and I haven't seen anything else, it's hard to say that she's going to be in better form. I hope she is. But I'm going to give it to Ariana Ince to take third. Just given her experience and whatnot, I think she's more likely to produce the third place throw. And then Madison Wiltrout in fourth behind her. And then I'll give it to Rebecca Wales. I think she'll have a great meet. The USAJP crew has been moving along well this year. And so she's had 53.92, 53, 52, 53. So I think she's due for maybe a little bit of a bump. So pulling for her to produce that to take fifth. And then Megan Albamonte at Delaware, I have her at 6. Now, kind of an interesting note with the World Athletics rankings, I'm not picking on anyone. This is just easier to, I think, explain with this women's situation. Ariana Ince is ranked 21st in the world. And all those throws are from kind of last fall. So the question is, if Ari Um, are, she's ranked 21st. And between now, just like Curtis, between now and the end of the ranking period of July 30th, the only mark she's going to lose is her Jav Fest mark of 61 something. So I have it written here 59, 64, 62, 61. And I think one of her 55-meter throws at a better meet this year is in her system, is in her ranking. So she'll lose that 61. So her world ranking probably won't drop below 30 because she's only losing one throw. One of the 56s or her USA mark will, go in the system. So that's 3 out of the 5 marks for her world ranking are from the tail end of 2022. That falls within the 12-month ranking period. But the question is, and again, this could be applied to any situation. I'm not picking on Ari. I'm just I think it's easier for us to look at it in this situation. With 3 out of her 5 marks, although it's within the 12-month period of the ranking system, wouldn't USATF want to send whoever's the next most prepared athlete, which, arguably, let's say Maddie Harris or Madison Wiltrow, throw really far at USA's and then go to another meet and do well. But ultimately, it doesn't move their world ranking up enough. Given the way the system's built, Ari gets the spot. And that's the way it should be because that's the way the rules are written. But if we ask this question, should the rules be written that way? I think it begs an interesting question. Because credit to Ari for throwing really far last fall, but does that necessarily mean anything right now? Because leading into this U.S. meet, she hasn't shown to me that she's better necessarily than Maddie Harris or Madison Wiltrow. Now I'm picking her to finish third ahead of some of the ladies because of her experience, and I think she will do well. But if she doesn't, and then those other ladies do well, but they don't get into high enough ranking meets, it just creates an interesting situation. So I'm not saying anything's right or wrong, but I think it's an interesting situation. So I'd be curious to what other people think. Because at the end of the day, I think to some degree, there's the question of the federation, USATF or whoever would, this could be any country. You want to send the athletes that are going to be able to perform to the best they can and represent your country well. And if you have a bunch of athletes who are capable, would you really want to send someone who did well, 7 or 8 months ago, or someone that did well last month? So enough of that. Interesting discussion could be continued. Let's take a look at these U20s for a couple of minutes here. So interesting that the U20 and national meet are being run concurrently. Be interesting to see from a scheduling standpoint and temperature standpoint. Sometimes things in Eugene get interesting. So we'll see how that goes. Haven't looked at the forecast yet, although I should. Speaking of, I meant to say, the men's javelin for the seniors is Saturday at 5:50 Pacific time. The women's javelin is 6:30 on Thursday Pacific time. The U20 men is at 12:30 Saturday Pacific time. And the women's is Sunday at 1:15 Pacific time. So the U20 men, you got Mike Stein, you got Dash Sermon. They're going to be the top of the list. I mean, they're your freshman collegians who have thrown absurdly far. But yeah, Hayden, Walter, Braden, Cole, Tyler Swatsky, and Peter Belomo, which Pennsylvania state champ, got to see that happen live. That was really cool. So they got a number of other throwers in the mid to high 60s who are certainly capable. So let's break things down. So Mike coming in to this freshman year, I think really exciting. A lot of people were thinking about him. Prolific on social media. 65, 60 Big Tens, 66 tough regional meet. Just couldn't find the point in the right way. Dash Sermon, 73 to open things up. I believe that was Texas Relays. 68, 75, 35, 74, and then a tough national meet, 70. And so those two, I think, are, I'm going to say a toss-up. They've both thrown well. I haven't seen any footage of Dash, but since Nationals, seen some stuff of Mike. He looks good. I think both of them capable of winning. There are a few other throwers that I mentioned here that are definitely capable of a high 60, potentially even touching 70. But these two, I think, are the only throwers that I can confidently say can go beyond 70 by, kind of an untouchable margin to anyone other than one another. In terms of who's going to win, yeah, I really can't say. I think both of them are capable, and it's going to be one of those two. Right behind them, Hayden Gorovitz, 67.56 was your high school leader for much of the season. He threw 62.21 at Nike Nationals. Braden. So Braden threw 69.51 to win Nike Nationals, although his seed mark's only 65.84. And when I looked at the numbers, he only made finals at Nike's with 53 something, and then threw 66 in round 5 and 69.51 in round 6. So pretty interesting competition there. So I think he's on paper, has the third farthest mark. Not sure if that's, really a reflection of what he'll be able to produce again, though. Between Hayden and Braden, have super far marks. Walter has touched 66 twice this year. Cole 65.80 is best. Peter Belomo, another high schooler, 63.45. I think, at Pennsylvania State's. Tyler Swatsky's PR, which PR I think 4 times in a row, if I remember right, 64.70 is what he's coming into this meet. I have a little note, inside scoop. Tyler sent me a message. He's ready to go. And he's posted a couple clips from training. He does look really good. And Tyler's definitely one of those people that it would not surprise me if he throws 70 and change. And so, that PR popping one into the mid 60s for sure, but high 60s, even touching 70 is not out of the question for someone like him who's moving really well. So that third spot, I think, is definitely up for grabs. But I think those top 2 spots, it's going to be either Mike or Dash, unless something wonky happens. So that's what I'm thinking. And the women's side for U20s, Evelyn Bliss, Pennsylvania State champ, top seeded, 51.86. Shea Green of Princeton, 50.55. Julia Magliaro, 50.18 from Penn Relays. Kais Holland, 47.06, your Nike national champion. Also one of your Oregon national champions. Aaron Tack, 46.42. Audrey Friedman, 46.26. Briley Tereska, 46.04. And I have Sophia Scott written down here. I think she entered but did not declare. So, this is an interesting field. I couldn't find as much data as I wanted to try to, provide some insight for you guys. Evelyn, I saw her throw. The coach Ryan Bell sent me a clip of that when that happened. That was pretty exciting. They were going for the record, and they secured the AA girls javelin record at Pennsylvania State, which is pretty cool. I don't know if she's in 50-plus meter form right now. But certainly confidence has got to be there to some degree from producing that throw. That's why she's ranked number 1. Shea Green, you can look at her season at Princeton. She's had some high 40 throws and touch 50 at the middle of the season. It's a long season. And so, this late into the summer, especially if this is the first time she's doing a meet later in the year, that could potentially be tough. But really, this is true for all these girls. Julia Magliaro had that 50-meter throw to win Penn Relays, high school Penn Relays. Since then, 45 meters was her most recent result that I could see, which was at New Balance Nationals. Kais had the 47.06 to win Nike Nationals, so she's coming in strong form. Aaron, Audrey, and Briley, 47. The way they move on the runway, certainly capable of a few more meters. So in truth, what is that? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 women. So really almost all the women, because I think there might be a couple more I missed on the entry list there. I think that, outside of, because Julia threw 45 the other day. So it's hard to say. I think Shea, given the number of throws she has in the high 40s, probably could be argued for most consistent coming in. Kais is probably thrown the furthest the most recently with the 47.06 at Nike's. But Evelyn's got the top mark, and even if she's not necessarily in that form, maybe she's going to be within 2 meters of that, which is still pretty much the top of this field. So it'll be interesting to see how this competition unfolds, and that'll be on Sunday. So the atmosphere will probably be pretty intense at Hayward Field, as you'll have the finals for most events hitting as well. So that'll be interesting to see. That's one thing that I think people sometimes underestimate is the atmosphere from the other events can certainly, kind of send things into a frenzy. One of the notes this year at the Tucson Elite Meet in the kind of elite night, when the USAJP guys and whatnot were competing, it was tough for everyone to find a groove because like the energy and the desire to throw far were just so high. People were tight. People were a little too intense, and it was tough to find their groove. And so, if you're thinking like these high school girls and some of these young college girls throwing Sunday afternoon, like in the middle of like the build up to, the hurdle finals and whatnot, like there's all these people there, like that energy can be a lot to handle. And if one person throws far, suddenly that you're thinking, wow, like 49 meters is really far, and that's going to be true of the men's competitions too, is that the atmosphere, if things get going really quickly, and I think that's what happened with women's NCAAs, is that first round was just, they're under the lights from the rain delay. That first round was so insane. Everyone's like, wow, I have to basically throw a lifetime best to get into this meet. And so it'll be interesting to see what kind of atmosphere this meet brings over the next couple of days. I'm pretty excited. Just covered a lot of ground, a lot of numbers, a lot of really capable throwers. So that's kind of not fan Christian, but robot Christian speaking. I hope everybody does really well. Unfortunately, that's just not how it works. But, if you are competing and stumble upon this and watch it, good luck to you. Pulling for you. Hope you throw far. Hope you're able to stay healthy through the competition. Walk away and head into whatever's next for you. Pulling for you. Appreciate the couple of you who were tuned into this. Hopefully, some more people can watch the replay as it'll save, and maybe down the road we'll get some more people on the live stream and be able to kind of have some back and forth and whatnot. Had some conversations with some pretty top people in the community who are interested in doing some stuff down the road. So stay tuned. There could be some really cool stuff later on this year. But yeah, looking forward to watching USA's and appreciate the couple of you that tuned in. As always, you know what I say. Remember to enjoy